Hello, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started here. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us for today's webinar. My name is Ryan Schallenberger, and I am the marketing manager here at Reveille Software. And today we're going to talk about in-depth Documentum monitoring, with the theme being knowing your Documentum issues before your users. And this is an important topic and something that we specialize here in at Reveille Software. Our presenters today are Bob Howitt and Kieran Fox, and I'll give a little bio on both of them before we begin. Bob is Reveille's Vice President of Sales, and Bob has over 30 years of experience in selling technology solutions and also managing teams in a variety of leadership roles. And this includes positions at companies such as IBM, Tivoli, HP Software, and Mercury. And he'll be covering the first part of this presentation. Kieran Fox is Reveille's senior pre-sales consultant, and he, like Bob, has a lot of experience in this space with over 20 years of experience in the enterprise content management space. And he's fulfilled multiple roles in pre-sales and professional services. And Kieran will be diving into our demonstration today of Reveille for OpenText Documentum. So as I just mentioned, I gave a brief overview on the agenda, but to recap, Bob is going to go over Reveille, who we are, what we do at the high level, and then Kieran, as I mentioned, is going to be diving into the actual demonstration, showing what this type of monitoring looks like for OpenText Documentum and what we provide specifically for that type of environment. If you do have a question, please use the Q&A function directly within your window, and we'll make sure to have time after the presentation to answer those questions. If we don't have time, we'll make sure to follow up with you directly. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Bob Howitt to dive into the details about Reveille. Bob?
Well, thank you, Ryan. I have a handful of slides that I'm going to go over. And the purpose of that is just to tell you who we are and how we monitor and manage the document environment. But the majority of our time is going to be spent in the actual demo. So let's go ahead and get started. On this first slide, on the left-hand side, you basically will see a number of large ECM environments, whether it's OpenText Documentum or IBM FileNet or any of the other enterprise content management systems on the left-hand side. Reveille has an in-depth, purpose-built monitoring solution for these environments. This is our niche. Reveille has spent the last 15 years developing these capabilities with these solutions, and as you will see, they provide a lot of insight into how your environments are performing. Today, we're concentrating on Documentum. On the right-hand side, you'll see a number of large companies that utilize Reveille to help them manage their environment. You'll see large banks like Bank of America and JP Morgan Chase, large insurance companies like Gen Re and United Guarantee and Zurich, and large pharmaceutical companies. These companies have large, complex Documentum and FileNet environments, and Reveille specializes in helping you manage them. As far as the next slide goes here, the reason why we exist is because without Reveille, you have a gap in trying to manage these complex environments. And specifically, it's the gap of the environment itself. Documentum has never had a systems management piece of software attached to it. And to try to manage that with other products that are in your environment, like in-house tools, is not going to provide you with the in-depth insight that you need to manage that ECM management stack, that Documentum stack. Okay, that way, what you're getting from the in-house tools that you're using are things like CPU utilization and disk utilization, but they don't tell you anything about how the 100 internal processes of our Documentum are performing. So what happens is your user department basically will be the first ones to notify you when they can't process the information that's inside of Documentum. On the next slide, you're going to see how large companies actually fill the gap. What they do is they take one of their in-house tools, like a network management tool, like a server monitoring tool, like a database monitoring tool, And they try to build out the monitors that they need to manage the actual Documentum environment. It takes a monstrous effort. It's at least 12 to 18 months. And what you end up being is you end up falling back to basics like CPU utilization and disk utilization. Reveille provides out-of-the-box deep insight into how these ECM environments, and specifically today, Documentum, is performing. We have out-of-the-box dashboards, reports, metrics, reports, things that help you manage that environment. Utilizing Reveille, we can provide that out of the box and save you significant time and money in managing that environment. So as you can see on this next slide here, Reveille provides, when we say we manage Documentum, Documentum has a lot of components and a lot of processes, and we manage each and every one of those processes with an out-of-the-box solution. But Reveille doesn't stop just with the ECM product. Over time, we know that these ECM products are connected to applications, they're connected to databases, they have storage underneath them. In some cases, companies are using RPA tools, and you already have a whole host of other systems management tools that you're using to manage your IT organization. So Reveille, not only does it give you deep insight into a Documentum or an intelligent capture environment, it also provides you application views. It also provides you views of how your database is performing, how your underlying storage is performing, and it's integrated out of the box with things like Splunk and ServiceNow and other leading systems management products. Now, how do we do that? Okay, we do that with two basic lines of code. One we call the Reveille platform code, and that's the code that we put on a server in your environment. And that environment can be a cloud, it can be on-prem, and it can be a combination of both. But that's the code line that we point at Documentum. And with our out-of-the-box tests, we bring information on how Documentum and all the components of a Documentum stack are performing. We have out-of-the-box tests for that environment, out-of-the-box dashboards, reports, and we bring the information back to a Reveille database. The other piece of code that helps you manage your Documentum application stack is what we call Reveille User Analytics. And that's the piece of code that sits on another server in your environment. And that server is pointed at the application server to pick up things like who the users are, what IP addresses they're coming in on, what documents they're opening, how long documents take to open, and what are they ever trying to do with those documents, whether they're trying to delete, download, or just read them. So we can provide all of that user information in real time. The next slide, basically over time with our existing customers, we built out additional capabilities we call solution packs. And these solution packs are added functionality that we built with the tests that already exist in the Reveille platform and user analytics code to give your users and give your IT organization more business value. Solutions such as service level management, capacity planning, remediation, and enterprise integrations are all bundled on top of the Reveille platform code. Solutions like card chargeback and license management and compliance and content security are all bundled with the Reveille user analytics code to provide you a heck of a lot more information than just basically monitoring. At the highest level, how this all works is as follows. Reveille has a series of out-of-the-box tests. For Documentum, it has approximately 100 out-of-the-box tests that go against the internals of Documentum and the application stack. Things like application interface transaction performance, database query performance, repository active counts, application JVM session counts, all that information that you need to manage that Documentum environment. We pull all that information back to a Reveille database. And once it's in our database, we can do multiple things. We can examine and evaluate that information to see if you're having any performance issues. We can set thresholds. We can take proactive actions, and we can populate the pre-built dashboards, reports, consoles. We have an out-of-the-box alert and notification engine, and we're built to work with other tools that are in your environment. The same thing works for capture, same things works for infrastructure, same thing works for RPA. We have these series of tests, we pull the information back to a database, and that's how we populate all the information throughout your IT organization. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Kieran, and Kieran's going to provide you a live demo of the system.
Thanks, Bob. Before I jump into the Reveille demonstration, I thought it'd be worthwhile introducing a set of documents that are available on our website. Reveille provides technical overview documents for each of the supported OpenText content management products. These technical overview documents cover in detail what Reveille monitors and manages for each of the OpenText supported platforms. So for example, the Reveille for OpenText Documentum technical overview, which I'm now showing, discusses over 90 Reveille Documentum tests, dashboard metrics, and user analytics capabilities. Also, all of the Reveille proactive actions that can be implemented based on issue detection. There are also technical overviews for both OpenText Intelligent Capture, XECM Content Suite, and Info Archive. The Reveille functions I show are available across the OpenText content management products. For today's session, I'll show Reveille for Documentum to illustrate common Reveille features available with OpenText Intelligent Capture, XECM for Content Suite, and Info Archive. Typically, the first interaction with Reveille is a notification. This could be a post in Microsoft Teams, email notification, or by passing an alert onto a trouble ticketing system. For example, it could be via Microsoft Teams, Microsoft 365 email, Slack, ServiceNow, Splunk, or any application that can receive a notification via a published API or other defined standard interface. The key is receiving a notification when, or even before, something significant happens. The organization defines what is significant, so we do not send multiple notifications that are not required. We see timely flags when something is happening on the system that is of interest. Once we've reviewed our notification, we open Reveille User Console. This is where we investigate any issues that Reveille has encountered. The first screen we can see is the Reveille system status. This tells us what is running within Reveille and what is being monitored, who is being notified of any issues, etc. We next drill down into the Reveille system. This is where we can start to get a view of not only our Documentum platform, but our whole content management environment. We can see an overview of the monitors for OpenText content management products. It shows all the elements that are being managed and monitored within Reveille. You can see I've structured my Reveille environment based on product. We are monitoring content management, capture, archive, and collaboration systems. Typically in a production environment, we would likely not structure our monitor by product. Monitors are usually structured by server, functional area, or business area, etc. This is defined by the organization's requirements and whom is managing the system. For example, someone from security may want to see how the platform is being used, so they would only look at certain sets of monitors, checking for unusual content access. Alternatively, an IT admin may want to see how the content management servers are running and user performance. Access to monitors within Reveille can be dependent on an individual's role. We can also group these monitors in different ways. We might group by location or by department. So again, this gives us flexibility in structuring Reveille in the way that best meets the organization's requirements. If we go back to our monitors, the next thing we can see is that the monitors are different colors. The color represents the severity status of the monitor. The orange monitors have warnings. The green monitors have no issues. We can filter in status and only look at monitors with issues or warnings. We can also filter by name. This allows us quick access to the monitors of interest and to go directly to the area we need to manage. Next, I'll open the Documentum monitor and drill down to the next level of detail. The boxes you can see within the monitor diagram are called Reveille resources. Resources allow us to structure the monitor based on the organization's system and requirements. You can see we've structured this based on different areas of content management functionality. So again, we can see Reveille's flexibility and its ability to allow the organization to manage its environment in a way that makes sense to them. Across the top of the monitor, you can see different tabs allowing us to access monitor-related data. Status allows us to look at the monitor resources in more detail. We can also open those resources and view the tests within them and the status of each test. We can look at captured issues via the log, test response times, the number of incidents we've encountered and how many have been resolved. We can see who has been notified of issues, and we can view metrics. As a test runs against the content management environment, we can gather data. This data is held within Reveille metrics. Multiple metrics over time allow us to produce trending analysis. We do this because it provides us with an historic view of how the system is being used and how it's performing over a period. There are over 90 plus Documentum metrics available. We can look at this data and assess what's acceptable performance and usage, and define a baseline which we can evaluate against. If an evaluation fails, we can flag it and raise a notification via one of the channels we discussed earlier. Reveille also gathers what we call user analytics data. If we open a Reveille dashboard, we can see this data. User analytics data covers what end users are doing within the system and how the system is performing for them. When a user interacts with the system via a web-based interface, such as D2, XCP, WebTop, or a REST-based custom app, Reveille looks for the packets at the start and the end of the content transaction. When Reveille sees these transactions, it extracts the relevant data and creates a user content management transaction within Reveille. Reveille works to observe Documentum application activity. It does not intercept the transaction activity, so it has no effect on the application performance. It provides Documentum user transaction visibility with context. You can see the type of Documentum business transactions available, and it could be anything from search, logging in, logging out, deleting a document, exporting a document, etc. Typically, with each transaction, Reveille gathers when the transaction took place, whom carried out the transaction, what the transaction was, the duration of the transaction, the server and client IP addresses and ports, the repository the user was connecting to, and any related transaction properties or custom fields associated with that particular transaction. So for example, with a search transaction, the custom fields could potentially hold the search criteria. On a view document, the transaction could hold the document name and document size. With this unique capability, transaction performance is no longer subjective. Reveille can gather the true nature of the transaction. Also, all of the fields can be sorted upon, and specific fields can be excluded or masked to meet security requirements. It is a combination of this transactional data and metric data that allows Reveille to provide insight into how the system is being used, and how it's performing, and whether it's working correctly for end users. Dashboards allow us to visualize this data. Here you can see the different types of user activity. When users log in and out of a specific Documentum repository, the number of transactions completed, how many documents were checked in, checked out, etc. To do this without Reveille is difficult. You may have to turn on content management system features, such as low-level interface tracing, additional database or file logging, or try divergent log correlation approaches that can have an adverse effect on system performance. This dashboard is focused on Documentum system and application performance. Performance and operation monitoring can be dependent on the type of the system we are monitoring. For example, when we monitor a Documentum environment, we may be interested in session counts, query times, user counts, batch committed processing, workflow queues, license usage, database maintenance processing, etc. For a capture environment, we could be interested in batch level counts, batch age for SLA management, batch exceptions, and stuck or hung batches. We may also be interested in CPU usage, memory usage, the amount of disk space remaining, thread counts, etc. across all the systems we're monitoring. Here we are looking at transactional data from a user behavioral point of view. We're looking at how many documents are being exported. We can also see it has been evaluated. If more than 30 documents are exported, Reveille will flag this, as it may be a security issue. The requirement is from a customer. They wanted to know if anyone was exporting a lot of content overnight. So the customer scheduled the evaluation to start at 7 p.m. and finish at 8 a.m. the following morning, so they could see if anyone came in overnight and downloaded a lot of content. If they did, security would be notified, and if required, the user could be automatically disabled. Reveille provided an insight and control they never had before. Also, if we scroll down, we can see the data presented in different ways. For example, the same user but with a different IP address. What this is saying is that if one user ID is used to log into multiple locations at the same time, it might be that the user ID has been compromised, and Reveille can trigger an action to disable that user. Dashboards are very helpful, but we may also want to produce static reports on this data. These dashboards can be manually or automatically produced and sent out on a scheduled basis. You can publish direct links to Reveille dashboards to access them directly from a secured URL or as a widget in a performance management portal, or save the dashboards to your favorite cloud storage such as Microsoft OneDrive. Reveille also provides performance reports. Here we're looking at customer experience report that shows how the system is performing for the end users. An SLA report shows whether the Documentum system is meeting the required service level requirements. Reveille has over 140 REST-based API endpoints, providing access to Reveille data, administration, and operations from other common applications. It also provides trusted data connectors with data visualization and analytics tools, such as Microsoft Power BI. This allows you to create your own dashboards and reports using Reveille data and other organization data sources. We have looked at how Reveille can identify and notify when issues occur and then provide information required to investigate these issues. Reveille allows the organization to look at how the system is being used, how it is performing, and drill down into this information via dashboards and reports. So how do we set up Reveille to allow us to do all of this? The Reveille administration console is where we carry out most of our configuration. If we open the monitor we were looking at previously, we can see the monitor structure. We can see the resources it contains, and if we open one of those resources, we can see the tests within it. You can see by the nature of these tests that we focus our monitoring capability on the content management product's application structure. This functionality comes out of the box. It's simple to create a monitor within Reveille. We can create a monitor via templates. If we right-click on a Documentum template and select Create via Template, we generate a monitor. We then define the parameters for this monitor, ensuring it is pointing at the right location. Once we've created the monitor, we might want to add additional tests to it. Reveille provides wizards that enable definition of new tests for the supporting technology portion of the business-critical content management-based processes, such as the servers, application servers, database, log files, event logs, application interfaces, etc. What Reveille is enabling is the ability to manage and monitor all elements that support the enterprise content management environment. Creating a test via wizard is a simple process. I select the product and category I want, I select the test, add the configuration details, and then click Create. We can now see the test we have created. If I open the configuration details for this test, I can see the metric associated with it. And if I open the metric, I can see how it is managed and evaluated via the metrics manager. We can see there are many different types of evaluation we can carry out. There are also options for scheduling. This allows us to define exactly when we are going to run this evaluation. Schedules can be applied to monitors, resources, tests, and evaluations. I mentioned earlier that Reveille monitors can be created via monitor templates. Reveille enables this with parameters. Parameterization allows us to remove values from a monitor that may change and replace them with parameters. This allows us to create a new set of parameters for each monitor and point them at the correct location. This really speeds up monitor creation time and management. I can now copy a monitor and create a new set of parameters for the monitor and point it at the correct location. With other solutions, you must rebuild the production monitor from scratch. Reveille's focus is on ease of deployment. If you want to extend Reveille to look at different areas, it's simple to do so. Once we're happy with the monitor, we can run it. Monitors can be run at different intervals as required. We can define when notifications are delivered, and as mentioned earlier, we can schedule a monitor. In this instance, we want to run the monitor now, so I select the monitor and click on the Start Monitor exclamation mark. This starts the monitor, and we can see this happening now. If Reveille encounters an issue, it will notify the required people via the most appropriate channel, but we might also want to do something about the issue, and this is where we can use Reveille proactive actions. We can configure Reveille to carry out a proactive action when it encounters a specific error. This could be automatic or can require confirmation. Reveille can carry out many different actions. As you can see, we have many out-of-the-box actions. They range from starting common Documentum services and processes to actions for AWS or Azure public clouds. Reveille can also run PowerShell scripts. This capability allows Reveille to carry out any action that can be completed via PowerShell script, providing great flexibility. The ability to carry out an action to resolve and provide a workaround to an issue ensures the organization reduces to a minimum the impact issue has on end users, and allows the content management administrators to reduce their administration time. If this was our test environment, we might want to take a completed monitor, export it from here, and import it into our production environment. To do this, we go to File, Import Export Wizard, Export to File. We can then simply go into our production environment and import a monitor. Management also needs to review what is happening with the content management system, and with Reveille there are several ways we can do this. Reveille is device aware and uses responsive web design techniques. So if a manager accesses the user console via a tablet or a mobile device, it is aware of the device they are using and presents the screen appropriately. Management can also go directly to a monitor or dashboard view. These show the relevant monitors and dashboards without having to go through the user console. It provides them with quick, simple access. This view could also be placed on a monitor in an organization office, so all users can see how the system is running. So again, dependent upon your role within the organization, Reveille presents you with the relevant information in the most appropriate manner. I'll pass back to Ryan now, and we will cover any questions.
Thank you, Kieran. Let's go ahead and take some questions that have come in. And as a reminder, if your question is not covered here, we will be sure to answer it as soon as we can after this webinar. So let's take a look at question number 1 here. The question is, what makes Reveille agentless? Can you describe the high-level architecture?
Reveille doesn't require any changes to the OpenText content management system it's monitoring. No agents are required on the server side. No additional tracing or logging needs to be turned on. So that means that Reveille is simple to deploy and maintain. Regarding architecture, a typical Reveille deployment requires 2 servers which can be virtual, one for the Reveille platform and one for Reveille User Analytics. Servers can be deployed on premises, in the cloud, or in a hybrid environment. And also Reveille requires an underpinning database.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kieran, for that answer. Let's go ahead and dig into another one. Question 2 that came in says, it's great that you have metrics for OpenText content management, but what if I need specific metrics and notifications for my users? Can users add, update, or change the metrics that are already in the system?
So Reveille metrics can be modified, and additional metrics can be added when required. Also, evaluations can be placed on all metrics, and notifications can be sent to the appropriate channel when evaluations fail.
Awesome. Thank you, Kieran. Let's go ahead and cover one more question here, and then if we didn't have time now, we'll get to you later. Question 3. Bob referenced other platforms that Reveille supports. Do all supported platforms include these metrics?
So that's a simple answer, yes. All the Reveille monitored platforms include those predefined metrics.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kieran, for answering those questions. Thank you to everybody that submitted a question. We're going to go ahead and end that Q&A portion right there. And like I said, we're going to follow up directly with you if you had a question. To wrap up, I want to make sure that everybody knows there's resources ready for you to take in. If you go to our website, or specifically go to a product page, such as Reveille for Documentum, you're going to find the ability to download the technical overview, to watch a recorded demo, or view other related webinars and resources and blog articles. There's just a lot on our website for you to digest, and namely that technical overview that Kieran went over. It's available for download on the website. If you'd like to understand how Reveille will benefit your environment specifically, we encourage you to schedule a demonstration with our team. And this can be done through our website, but also if you have questions or would like to schedule a demo as well, you can always contact Bob Howitt, who did the first part of this presentation, and you can see his email on the screen right now. So we'd like to just thank everybody for joining this webinar today. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you, everyone.